Good morning. This is Suraj Singh, civil engineer from Faridabad, Bharat. Professional work in engineering, professional engineering, construction engineering, design engineering, all engineerings in different fields, planning engineering, quality engineering, safety engineering, construction engineering, all required in profession of engineering in construction, civil, and many other engineerings, building constructions or other big facilities all over world. Engineering is very important, without which it's not possible to work, to deliver something, whether it be green project, greenfield project, or it be brown project, new project, or renovation of project, or retrofitting of project. Engineering is a must. Engineering as a whole, engineering not simply doing engineering, means thorough engineering, involving total engineering from all branches of engineering in practical terms, far away from theory, far away from research, but doing physical work based on designs. If designs are excellent, well detailed analysis have been done, and research has been done, drawings have been produced, documents have been produced, and otherwise no work is done thoroughly on sites, on locations, all designs go waste. Purpose of design, purpose of hard work input delivered by those researchers, designers, give no meaning to project if controls are absent, and controls are not easy to be covered by normal professionals without concentration, without seriousness. I have been talking about technical work, non technical work, administrative work, professional work that is conducted on sites by various persons or personnel involved on buildings projects as well as on other projects where infrastructures are related. Building project is very common for all wherever work is done because buildings are involved in residential areas, commercial areas, institutional areas, or otherwise on in structural formations in facilities. Buildings are required there also. Administrative building, office building, warehouse building, central control building, substation buildings, and stores, etc. Many as such. In residential, we need apartments, bungalows, houses, plotted houses, shops, schools, nursing units, and you can say means whatever is there. Development involves all this, and these are all supported by professionals who are in technology and who are in other branches of engineering, electrical, mechanical, civil. These are basics, architecture, and various other services, which are supporting services, which are services for maintenance of building, and that is computer engineering, security controls, and many others, instrumentation engineering, etc., etc. All these are very complex in nature that no person can in oneself do all this. So a large pool of engineers is required in all projects. For example, in ordinary building project, we need design civil, practical civil, you may say, architecture, architect, electrical, mechanical, civil, security, building management, and all classes of workers, foremen, general foremen, helpers, mason, welders, carpenters, all kinds of classes, workers, ordinary workers, RMC, cranes, you can say excavators, mobile, all this we need in buildings. It's very wide field. This means wide control is required. Wide control of staff is required. Wide control of seniors is required. Wide control of technicians are required. And wide control of personnel are required. You can say this kind of a field where technical management, administrative management, business management, and all human resources management, machine management, etc. are all required. If it's, you can just keep in mind all these trades and all these business sections. If you sum up that, you will find that about 70% of economy or budget can go to these consuming areas. These areas are very significant from development viewpoint of view, development viewpoint you can say, and one cannot avoid this by just isolating oneself. No, I am this, I will do. No, interaction is very important in all such cases when you have to procure your resources or your resources from so many areas. You cannot in isolation talk to someone and decide. Everybody has in circuit, just like interconnection, infrastructure of humanity, infrastructure of human resources, infrastructure of, you can say, machine resources, material resources, and working resources. All meet at one point from coming from various other points. And that is called actually coordination, interaction, and that conduct must be very fertile, must be very reliable. Otherwise, you cannot get what you design for, what you intend for, what you plan for, and you don't get optimum delivery of your input of money and resources. That's purpose of what I wanted to say. That's the only purpose that my mission is, that coordination and interaction are very important for all such projects which consume natural resources and human resources, equipment resources. Or you can say a future depends upon how you work today. Otherwise, this is your future which you are going to do. Today you are working for producing these structures, buildings, or whatever plants, facilities, which will add to your future for coming decades, many decades. So if you work today very fine, very good, reliable on these projects, you will find return of these in future for long term. Therefore, aspects of quality, safety, reliability are very important. When I say reliability, this is very big equation. Reliability equals, many times I explained before also, but it's better to explain again and again so that at least people remember this. Reliability is equal to safety plus service ability plus durability. And you know the meaning of that. Safety means whatever you deliver, it should be under safe concerns, and delivery should be safe, and its actions should be safe, its service should be safe. And as a serviceability, whatever you produce must be capable to deliver service, to equip or provide you with service that was intended for. And then I say durability, which means whatever product you are giving, that product must serve for design period or planned period, say 50 years, 60 years, 80 years, 100 years, 30 years, or whatever number years on plan, whatever time duration you fix for that, at least for that duration. That product must be safe, it must serve satisfactorily with and up to that time. And of course, if you apply retrofitting or you haul this, give more life to that, when this period is over, it may further be extended for more durability. Material should keep serving up to that time. There should be no major hysteresis on material. Whatever you use means it could continue further without any loss of service by products, by materials. So that's called reliability. And if your products are reliable, this means you are reliable. Because you are there safe, your work was safe, your work was serviceable. This means you knew how to produce it and it performed, means your your plan continues and your service was successful, which is very significant point of view. And I am also advising all that maybe you people are taking into your mind that I am taking too much time in every video. Yes, you are right. I am taking too much time because this is engineering profession. You cannot take, it's not joking line, it's not drama line, it is very serious line, very serious object, subject, both. Our profession, where we produce something for humanity, means we involve natural resources, we involve human resources, we involve equipment, we involve energies, we involve everything, we involve unknown. So you cannot say that this can be talked in half an hour or 20 minutes or 10 minutes. It is serious business because this product is for coming decades. There is nothing can be used only for 1 hour and then discard it. This product is for decades. Whatever product it may be a building, it may be whatever. So you have to be serious about this. You cannot simply say we should be 10 minutes or 20 minutes. No, it will be for hours, hours and hours. Because your work is like that. We are not working, we are not playing football or cricket, we are not cycling, we are not walking. We are doing something very serious, and if people are serious, they can think of. Otherwise, it's time wastage. We cannot learn in our universities what is done in field. That is impossible. University studies only for few years. You may learn something, you may not learn something, cannot be guaranteed. Because pass mark are half, 50%, maximum 50%. Then you are getting distinction or first class or whatever it is. This means only 50% pass mark you are coming out. This means you studied 25% or 30% or 40%. So whatever study whatever study you did in your university is not complete. That cannot give you input to deliver something directly, which means you have to upgrade yourself while on job and actually learn their practical aspect of life and ensure and ratify or confirm or verify that whatever you learn was actually done on site. And that doesn't happen actually in all cases. You have to learn so much other than what you learned in university, and it takes time in field. It takes years. It will take years, not months. And even after that, you are not sure, but you have to keep on learning, learning, and learning, and it takes months, years, and until you are in profession, you have to upgrade yourself, update yourself. That is called professional development. So my purpose is to keep everybody updated, because if you are an engineer just out of university and when you see yourself after 5 years, you find your value after 10 years, you shall yourself remember, you will yourself evaluate your performance that yes, I was at that level in university and now I am this level. That you can learn only once you are in field. And if you think, no, I'm just a graduate or postgraduate or doctor and I am everything, then you are in cricket or football or film. That's what I can say. Not more than that. Hint is enough for an intellectual person. This means don't take engineering as game, don't take it as entertainment, don't take it as money earning field, don't take it as market value for marriage, don't take it as your status only, or don't take it as a certificate for use somewhere only for purpose of evidences. Engineering is more than your life. Maybe you involve yourself a few hours only in your home, but whole day and even at night while you're thinking about your works, you are involved with work. So 70% of your time is involved with your profession, maybe more. So take it that way, consider it that way. And if you consider that, you can think differently. You will not think that your profession is only for making money, but making world. You are going to help God by using God's materials, God's human resources for further development of this planet. That is more important. And if it is positive way that you are going to develop this using in the best way all materials available extracted from earth, that would be service to nature, to God, much more than your prayer in your relation. It's therefore suggested take it too seriously. So I am just giving you very simple information, very low profile information, yet that is good for those who are unaware of that. I had discussed with you about certain activities, certain job descriptions, activities descriptions of various professionals who are involved in field. For example, on building projects who are involved, I explained to you, owner is there, contractor and engineers are there. Engineer means contractual engineer who manages project, and owner means who finances project, and contractor who works to execute job, maybe without designs or with designs. In both cases, construction contract or EPC contract, we call them. When we call them construction means construction work is done by contractor and design is given by engineer to contractor. Whereas EPC means engineering procurement and construction, which means design part is also included in that contract. So generally buildings are done on contract basis, which is construction contract, and here involvement is engineer, contractor on sites, on projects, on locations of projects, and financer is owner. As I told, there are two types of contracts. In this case, one is management contract, which is executed between owner and engineers. Other one is construction contract that is executed between owner and contractors. Engineer is administrator there to deal on that contract of construction, but its own contract is fee-based contract or salary-based contract or whatever based contract, but engineer has to work for owner. That was triangle, that is triangle. One owner, one engineer, one contractor. This triangle must go smoothly without disputes and must be supported well so that project is delivered in a professional way. Whatever project is delivered, we may call it a professional delivery project, professional project. Professional means it is perfect work as specified or as you can say defined in all aspects, technical aspects, engineering aspect, construction aspects, and whatever was intended for, whatever service are required to do to get from that, it is done, it is received. Everybody has role there, all engineers have role there. Engineering charge is a legal one on contract basis. He has many staff on sites. He has resident engineer. He has services engineers, service engineer experts. He has structural engineer on that project, civil engineer on that project. Similarly, on contractor side, and you can say there is a representative of contractor. We call contractor representative or contractor's responsible person, contract's agent or contract site agent or contract's project in charge, and having support of site engineers and assistant and foremen and supervisors and workers. All those are there. And then there are subcontracts also, because in some cases the project is big and that contractor is not able to deliver project himself or self, involving all disciplines. And he experts that contractor requires support of certain professionals of professional services contractor, electrical, mechanical, engineering services or plumbing services or certain other services, gas services or firefighting services or lift services or certain other branches, food work and all that, many other services are there. Also, there may be many more subcontractors on that project. And then in addition to all this, there is input from various bodies. Various bodies means statutory bodies or authorities who are employed for this purpose, means they have to serve public. Example is water supply department, sewage department, building permit department, firefighting department, civil defense you can say, electrical department, or many other departments which can give input to project. And then general public for whom project is done. And then the department, if it's government, in place of owner. If owner is government, then there are ministries and departments who are responsible, and representative from government is called engineer. In that case, owner is government, but engineer is appointed by government, either its own or by third party. And on all about this, there's one independent party, it's called third party. Third party means who audits progress of work according to contract, and it's independent of engineer as well as contractor. Though it's paid by owner or government, yet it's an independent one who ensures that work is done according to documents, specifications, time, etc., which are called contract documents. And being third party, it ensures the quality system is achieved. Air quality is involved, which quality means not quality control alone, it is total quality. Total quality means quality of material controls, quality of work controls, and all other controls which are required on project in a system. Safety issues, quality issues, material issues, workers issues, whatever runs on site, all that must be under defined environment, defined specifications, and that is called third party. Previously, it was no concept as such in early days in 80s and 90s, but now this is very common because of development of quality systems and professions, or you can say domain, as well as safety as domain. And on all this, you can say very complex environment on this profession of buildings. Of course, it enhances cost to some extent while you maintain safety or audit functions, means you have to comply with IS 9000 or Sigma or whatever. That also increases some cost, but that expended cost, that raised cost, is many times reimbursed back when you get quality, saving of material, saving of human resources. So you are not actually spending on that improvement of quality and proficiency of work. So in general case, we can say we have to improve, and in that respect, I will continue my previous discussion. Yesterday I talked about electrical engineers, mechanical engineers involvement, because mechanical engineers means HVAC and lift and plumbing, etc. I talked of general duties, what these services professionals should do. I talked the length of electrical engineers, which is not very lengthy actually, which involves fix one and fix two activity on site, and designs means working drawing and shop drawing from to be converted from schematic designs, because when you see contract documents you give schematic designs only. At that time you don't know how it shall be worked on site. So scheme is done on site means this is our scheme, and you are giving parameters related to designs, loading of electrical, etc. And shop drawings are converted, are produced, and working drawings are produced, which indicate load balancing and how to do it on site, how to distribute load, how to work out so that there is no risk involved. Internally of building as well external areas of buildings, what sort of transformers you need, what sorts of switch gears you need, and what sort of cabling you need, what sorts of wiring you need, and what sorts of electric ducting you need, and how it is done. All that is covered in that one, which I explained that, and that involves duties means electrical materials are first submitted, drawings are submitted, these are approved. Without approval, nothing can be done. This is all professional requirement. This was done and people used to do, and it must be done like that. And similarly, even because of the mechanical engineering work, say HVAC, heat ventilation, air conditioning, which is a ducting work, and then connections to machines, air handling units, and chillers or package units, inducting, volume control dampers, fire dampers, and all that are, you can say, kind of system, in-built system or on-site built system, which should function according to first class requirement, which this installation should be first class one. And it was a role lot of input by HVAC engineer or mechanical engineer, and that was discussed yesterday. Means it's a coordination of structures and ducting work and mechanical work, and similarly coordination of structural work and electrical work, as well as we will go with plumbing. So I talked at length about this, and as though it was not adequate yet, it was informative, because generally danger of fire comes from HVAC work, also from electrical work. Both are very risky, both are dangerous, yet professionalism is required, and engineers do it on sites, on designs, on day-to-day basis and hour-to-hour basis, and they check how it is. Performance check, activities check, fixes check, first fix, second fix, first testing and commissioning, second testing, like that means test, you can say, commissioning is at the end. So I'll continue now with what was saying, that yes, it is about plumbing. Means what a plumbing and drainage engineer should do. I have discussed with electrical. I have gone through electrical, what I said, so let me check whether I'm right or wrong. I was discussing about electrical engineers should do, electrical engineers should do, then what a plumbing and drainage engineer should do. Let me say, I'll start from what electrical engineer should do, so that little bit confusion is removed. Yeah, I think I should start from that. I did this for reminding, I do this. Electrical engineers shall be employed by contractor when electrical discipline works are carried out. Just for refreshing, carried out by general contractor or be with subcontractor, as case be. In either case, electrical engineer shall dispose of following responsibilities. I'm reading very fast because yesterday I did that in the last video. So just for refreshing, reconnection, overlap, you can say. We shall go through electrical bills of quantities and schematic drawings as a basis required for the engineer. Requirement of engineer and prepare schedules of items for making submitted to engineer through registered engineer to whom site agent submit on receipt from the ones. He shall go through electrical and quantities, electrical BOQ, bill of quantities, and schematic drawings as basic requirements of any engineer, and prepare schedule of items for making a submittals to engineer through resident engineer to whom site agent shall submit on receipt from subcontractor, and go through contract drawings thoroughly as well as contract specifications for electrical and related mechanical discipline, and ascertain adaptability of systems for designs and loads requirements for use. Shall schedule out details of shop drawings and enlist same in orderly manner for making submittals and send schedule to agent for forward disposal to resident engineer for approval. Shall start making material submittals according to approved list and obtain approvals in time from electricity engineer and consultant. Shall start making shop drawings or submittals according to approved list of contract documents and shop drawings to contractor's agent for onward disposal to resident engineer purpose. He shall propose a trade program for actual discipline job and fit it to come in line to approved contract's overall program. Supposed supplied to him by agent shall clearly exhibit in that details of trade persons, equipments, and other details as professional required to be checked. Ensure that electrical job on site starts in time and in coordination of building activities being in progress, and items such as conduits, ducts, junction boxes, and all items to be concealed in ground or in floor slab on columns or in walls be procured immediately and execution done in sequence to building operations. Deployment shall take place immediately after foundations are over to provide concealed ducts in ground floor, etc. Few of electrical drawings unrelated to AC works should be ready on site duly approved for purpose of site inspections. He shall ensure the electrical job on site starts on time. Okay. Then he shall cease to engage one of trained foremen on site all times to supervise activities going on, obtain written approvals of electrical consulting engineer and resident engineer. He shall coordinate with agent on site all time, make himself aware of proposed operation and programs, laws of internal architecture and job to position points of lights and switches and sockets accordingly. Job of coordination with the architecture structure is not that much complicated as that of engineering in this case. When what he requires to coordinate or finish the floor level, finish the height of false or suspended ceilings, to check that trunkings and cable trays, etc. to remain in ceiling and space for short firing ceiling system wires is available. Has to ascertain possible elevations of fittings which are given somewhere in project specifications or drawings, if not same to be received from resident engineer. Main coordination shall exist as discussed before in responsibilities of mechanical engineer on job, adaptability of machines or equipments to cables as provided or to be proposed by electrical engineer that is should accept load of machine shall deliver as output or input. Satisfy mechanical engineer for adaptability, and both engineers shall agree and counsel agreement by resident engineer and his specialists. Electrical engineer knows about technical data of machines, and mechanical engineer size of cables and quality as well as systems, so two systems match each other. Generally, electrical drawings are left pending, particularly of equipments and machines due to non-approvals of engineering drawings. Electrical engineer has to finalize ordering of materials for approved program and include material approval and delivery schedule during technical and coordination meetings, contents of which have already been explained in last video or earlier. Has to attend all the coordination and technical meetings and include progress reports for submittals and works and complete details of job, including workman, you can say, material and percentage of works and drawings and material submittals. Shall issue all approved prints of drawings to concerned people, as explained, shall be responsible for inspection of job carried out by people. Equipments fittings are supposed to be test approved by a resident engineer and consultants on approved record sheet. Act in unison with contractor's agent to get everything inspected before ceiling is closed to satisfaction of resident engineer and especially resident engineers and architectural engineers. Shall coordinate with agent to make available foundations of electrical poles for external electrifications as part of contract. Shall coordinate with agent to make transformer plinths and minor machine plinths ready and basis of switch gears, cable trenches specified in contract details. Provide all information for contract site meetings to agent. Coordinate with agent to make available rooms for stores shall prepare all record drawings and build and submit for approval in time specified in conduct documents to site agent for further disposal to resident engineer and whatever else is required to accomplish the activity. There are so many things which cannot be described. Your thing is you have to depend upon coordinate the site people to ensure that what more is required, what sort of material is required. But sometimes material is very important, drawings are very important. If material is not approved in time, you cannot purchase material, you cannot place orders, and if drawings aren't submitted in time and approved, you cannot start work on site. So this is a very practical way. Means if you want to do project, you have to keep project in line to schedule. For that, you have to be very well. It may be electrical engineering, it may be plumbing engineering, or maybe whatever engineering. You can always time to your way. You have to dictate yourself first. You have to work yourself first. You have to see complete details. You have to analyze all details. You have to see what can be done. You have to plan accordingly. Don't exclusively depend on bar chart, but you plan your way, detailed plan in your way. Your services sector in relation to construction sector, both are there. You have to be very careful about that. Now I move further this, what a plumbing and drainage engineer should do. Plumbing engineer may be employed by main contractor. Should work of this discipline be carried out by contractor or subcontractor? If work is sublet, you can say given the subcontractor. In either case, plumbing and drainage engineer dispose following responsibilities for contract contents or scope of job of plumbing. Let us see what it says. Go through contract documents thoroughly, and that is read BOQ bill of quantities, contract drawings, project as well as other specifications, and schedule out a list of proposed materials for submission as well as for shop drawing approvals. Shall promptly start making submittals based on gathered information according to approved schedule of materials and drawings approvals. Keep in mind that requirements shall be first immediately after excavations or foundations are over. For works of underground drainage, be parallel operation to foundations and performance operations, and all related drawings and approved materials must be made available on site to proceed for that activity practically. For approval of ground floor drainage system, plumbing engineer shall have to coordinate with site engineer or agent for final levels taken in buildings and invert levels as may be changed due to adjustment in finished external levels. Routes, you can say pipe routes may not be followed as given in working drawing or in schematic drawings, but depending upon positions of foundations, a movement be permitted that may be recorded and as-built drawing. Shall mobilize people or workforce, material and required equipments as soon as foundation starts so that no delays are caused to substructural activities due to drainage and make all arrangements for testing of laid pipes for obtaining approval for specifications. Approval shall be the responsibility of plumbing and drainage engineer. Foreman deployed by him, full-time or dedicated one, has to make arrangements for test of pipes, lines for all sections as required by resident engineer and specialist engineers. Shall submit trades program of discipline to depict clearly detailed activities based on main approved program in possession of subcontractor as supplied by agent of contractor, fit in with time of activities according to exhibiting complete details of manpower, equipments, and all other remaining details. Having received materials approved through contractor's agent shall make arrangements for procurement of materials per program. Having submitted all drawings related to sanitary, drainage, stormwater, hot and cold water supply, irrigation for plants shall distribute copies to all related personnel on site as explained before or earlier. All materials ordered should be delivered to site per program and be explicitly detailed in material status submitted with documents of coordination and technical meetings be held monthly or fortnightly if required. Shall attend all technical and coordination meetings. Shall submit details of shop drawings in formal format of shop drawings, submittal and approval status, approved states. Shall see that items delivered for plumbing and sanitary fixture which shall be fixed at time of finishing items in progress before final testing and commissioning are properly stored in consultation with agent who arrange for same. Make necessary dealings to coordinate works with other disciplines on site. For example, main infrastructural contractor working in same project and also other subcontractors. Could be many changes on route levels of lead pipe systems which shall ascertain to have been recorded in parallel to execution so as not to miss any deviated record. Shall act in coordination with builder work necessary and to be done by agent and also advise agent for clearance of site to get more scope for operation of his discipline of drainage and plumbing. This is for, you can say, very ordinary building. Well, take about road engineer should do. Road engineer means not highway engineers, means a small road engineer on such projects. Internal roads, you may say. A road engineer, though required in last stage of contract, project, and particularly in organizations having a separate road section, work is carried out by that section being specialist in that discipline. Road engineer on call by site in charge agent shall act in unison and provide all informations in connection with material submissions such as aggregates, asphalts, concrete, etc. to agent for formal submission to resident engineer and civil works engineer. Material should be approved before being brought to site after setting out of road lines and levels to reach formation levels. Road engineer shall be requested to inspect and give approval for road activities to commence with through site agent. Backfill and compaction shall be carried out and samples of compacted ground or fill be taken per direction of resident engineer or his road specialist and density results and the field density results as shall be results communicated to resident engineer in original by site agent. After that, all activities of road structure shall commence. All activities of construction of road structures, road surfacing, lining, etc. shall be carried out under supervision of road engineer by road foreman and all approvals from resident engineer and civil works or road specialist shall be taken by road engineer through agent. Road engineer should see before mobilization of his gangs or crews and machines and equipments that necessary works or curbs, curb fixings, fencings, infrastructural activities involved in contract and in all minor structures having completed from agent and by agent and when gets clearance from that agent to carry on job, road engineer shall start mobilization, shall also advise of requirements before commencements of road activities. Sometimes there may be no need for a Special road engineer and site engineer may deal with execution of that part of this contract themselves. Now, I'll talk about specialist works. It's very simple, but let us say in every project you shall find services contractors for execution of special disciplines or activities or systems on your job. Construction, let us say construction of a swimming pool or pool's complete system as a whole, including design part of that, or let us say treatment plants, overhead water tanks and other water tanks, sports equipment, supplying and fixing of these items per specifications, sports surfacing of high standing or comfort systems, chain link fencing or other fencings for security, ornamental works, decorative works or works related to cultural heritage, work of arboriculture and greenhouse, supplying and fixing of special kitchen equipment in all respects including cold stores, special rooms such as X-rays rooms, plasters, squash courts, room construction, special floorings such as rubber special flooring, wall lining of halls, works of glass reinforced concrete, or works in electronic equipment rooms, or structural steel works and works of particular trade as specified, walls and roof cladding elements, no limit for special elements in any contract but where coordination is necessary shall be seen by agent and related engineers themselves. This is just a list. It's not limited one. You can add anything, any any item or discipline which is required for that. Raised floor, for example, now in computer area, or blast related items. So many. False ceiling, though it's very common, yet rubber flooring, I said, I think there. Before, if not, rubber flooring is also there. Epoxy flooring is there. Not one, not two, unlimited. Now, for example, coordination among swimming pool contractor, plumbing and drainage contractor, and electrical contractor, along with architectural disciplines must be necessary. Coordination among tiling work and underwater light and distribution of supply system and disposal of used water all need close coordination, for which a coordinated drawing must be provided by site agent for approval and assistance of site engineers. Similarly, coordination for construction of water supply and sewerage treatment plants are required. Agent shall act promptly with full action program of his own to deal with these people for successful completion of all such operations to program bar. Must ascertain that all drawings needed for complete execution of these operations must be approved with interdisciplinary coordination of services to avoid clashes and wastages of valuable time and material. So this is general, means there is no limit for specialist engineers, means you can think your way you can say. Now engineer and super coming to administrative part, administration of contract. How is contract administered by professionals? Engineer is a professional, resident engineer is a professional, service engineers are professionals, site agent is a professional, site engineer is a professional. All these are professional discipline owners, means responsible professionals who has certain target to achieve in unison with each other, in coordination with each other. And this coordination is not general. This is very much technical, documentary, and interactive. You have to be very interactive. You have to be very evidentary. Means everybody has to look after interest of its organization. Engineer has to look after interest of his profession and project, of his reputation, and its relation with honor, whereas contractor party has to look into its own interest, because after all contractor means a party, a person who is interested in delivering project and to get profit, and that project must be reliable, safe, serviceable and durable, so that it can be used by those to whom it was meant. Its focus should be whatever is done should be value added, not simply done. Customer satisfaction as expected in quality system must be made a point. That customer means user of that product must be happy, satisfied without any prime complaints. So administration of contract of construction is very significant, which involves duties of all these professionals, which we are going to study and understand how they should conduct themselves. If their conduct is disturbed, project will be disturbed. But we do not expect that, because these people are educated one, highly educated professionals, engineers, experienced one in all branches, and they must have that level of diplomacy, that level of maturity, that level of intellectualism, that they do something concrete and professional. Now I'll say engineers and supervision, let us say. It's very basic actually, but must be clearly understood. That's important. It is desired to explain in brief meaning of term engineer, as people generally misunderstand that term. Actually, in terms of contracts, this designation applies to person or official or government department head or professional organization of building engineering, architectural engineering, firm to whom owner or user entrusts responsibility of project to budget available to its budget availability from conceiving stage to final completion, which involve all operations of inceptions, architectural plannings and detailings. From conceiving stage to final completion, I repeat, owner or user entrusts responsibility of project to budget availability from conceiving stage to final completion, which shall involve all operations of inception, architectural plannings and dealings, structural planning, designing and detailings, schematic services designs and detailings, designs of all related civil works and external works, and preparations of bills of quantities and contract contents and general and project specifications, tendering and award and control and administrative management, site supervision of contractors' executions, finalization of all payments, budgetary controls, acceptance or rejections of job, testing, commissioning of completed jobs per conditions and clauses of specifications, maintenance, supervision, and grant of final completion certificate for purpose of release of all retention monies to contractor and activity not covered in said explanation, that are preparations of all detailed drawings for purpose of obtaining statutory building permits. Once again, I read this complicated long para because you may not confuse otherwise. It's better to understand once again, little 2 minutes only. It's desired to explain in brief meaning of term engineer, as people generally misunderstand that term. Actually, in terms of contracts, this designation applies to person or official, a government department head of professional organization of building engineering, architectural engineering, from whom owner or user entrusts the responsibility of project's budget availability from conceiving stage to final completion, which involve all operations of inceptions, architectural planning and detailings, structural planning, designing and detailings, schematic services design and detailings, design of all related civil works and external works, and preparations of bills of quantities, contracts contents, general and project specifications, tendering, award and control, administrative management and site supervisions of contractors' executions, finalization of payments, budgetary controls, acceptance or rejection of jobs, testing, commissioning of completed job per conditions and clauses of in specifications, maintenance, supervision, and grant of final completion certificate for purpose of release of all retention monies to contractor and activity not covered in said or foregoing explanations, that preparations of all detailed drawings for purpose of obtaining statutory building permits. This is a gross responsibility. For example, a promoter appoints an architectural or building engineering firm or group appoints a group to plan, design, and supervise execution of job or project. Appointed firm or group shall be nominated as engineer in legal terms, and headman responsible for group shall be liable to legal implication or implication as man responsible for design or a person responsible for design and supervision and stability of building as a whole. Similarly, whatever government or funding body wants some project to be executed for welfare of masses or for other purpose, Government Department of Civil Engineering discipline shall be entrusted to carry out job of project, and head engineer of the department of rank of designation of engineer in chief, engineer member, chief engineer, as case be designated as engineer. In legal terms, that person needs not necessarily be civil engineer or structural engineer. Architect or civil engineer or structural engineer are all eligible for being designated as engineer in legal terms. Should entrusted department does not possess required caliber or staff to look after above explained duties and responsibilities, a group shall be invited to look after that responsibility, and appointed firm or group be termed engineer if work is completed to be on firm's responsibility, and in some cases department may wish to appoint resident engineers only for that purpose. So after owners appoints firm or group as engineer and contract is entered in between engineer and promoter or owner, head of firm shall be party in contract personally, while in government department, engineering chief or engineer member or chief engineer shall sign on behalf of government. When department appoints an engineering firm as resident engineer, nominated engineering firm shall be project manager or supervision. Project manager, supervision. Big projects cannot be designed and supervised by one person above as engineer. Therefore, in practice, what happens that engineer responsible for project appoints under control, its control a resident engineer for control of site execution with a group of specialist engineers and other anchoring or supporting engineering and administrative and ministerial staff under direct control of resident engineer. All works are carried out on site, which will be of technical nature, and to check works being done according to engineer's details or not done according to that detail. Whatever shall be done by resident engineer be considered by engineers, is done by engineers. In legal terms, all responsibility of project shall be shared by engineer exclusively. Now I'm just showing you an organizational structure, how it is done or managed. Means it is say responsible is given engineer on top, responsible for project job in all respects, and just you have a brief look on that, just a glimpse of that. This is a normal organization. This is engineer responsible for project job, and in that there is architectural section, then structural section, then it is services section, it is quantity section, and then civil section, department, various departments. So I'll just speak on this. This is you see architectural section, deputy head, seniors, executives, assistants, draftsmen, etc. Then structural also same, deputy head, seniors also double similarly, and services also similar, and quantity section, etc. These are general means, and all we have to keep like that. Then administration directly under chief engineer, directly under engineer, and in that it is, you can say, public public relation, public relation, preparation for tender, copies and other miscellaneous works, and then accounts, chartered accountants, and juniors, etc. This is normal, means this is, it is conventional. You can make it your way, but it just means such type of quality is there is missing in this, safety is missing in this, and these days this is very old. So I am just telling this. But nowadays, quality system exists, safety system exists, many other systems exist, and the planning exists, cost control of planning exists, and also third party system exists. This is old one, I'm just briefing to you, but all this required to be added in this. Sorry. This organizational structure of engineer's office that I showed to you in different levels of working for project control of engineer for purpose of guideline only, but may vary from project to project and requirement to requirement. This applicable to very big size of project, number of professional shall depend on quantum and duration of design periods of job. Engineer shall do also employ resident engineer and staff which shall be structured in the organization of this site. Once I just give an example. Uh, in in 2000, I think it was 2010, I had to go back to Gulf. I wanted to go back because I was back from the. I appeared in one interview with Saudi company, and I appeared in Delhi. I was having certification of chartered engineer, professional engineer, long experience. I wanted to apply. It means I just appeared in interview, and those said, "What's the qualification?" I told him, I showed to my CV and this and the means, "Do you have any management certification?" I said, "No, I don't have." "Why do you want that? Why do you expect me to have management education? What is the specialty that I don't understand? I have got this much experience, and you ask me question, I'll answer to you. I have worked on projects, I worked in offices, I worked everywhere. You see my CV is telling you, and I'm an expert, my professional engineering qualification telling you. Now, why you expect that I should have separate qualification? Shall qualification teach me what I have to do?" You ask me question, I answer you. I challenged. Then those guy, so senior guy, that delegation. Okay, there's a building, hospital, something, big project. How will you organize it? Give me organization chart. Okay, very simple. I give me a paper. I just take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, put all this is all these departments, engineer here, owner here, department here, and this is your tree of all that. These are various departments. This is design department, this engineering department, design engineering department, construction department, safety department, quality department, this, that, all that, and so many, so many. No, 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 take your time, do it calmly, no problem, I can give time. No. Okay, I just say this is that. No one asked me questions. He interrogated me for about an hour or more. And I think there was no answer that I left, or there were questions I could not answer. I asked him many times. I also his questions there. I said to him, don't expect that certifications will teach you. Because those people, though I'm not criticizing limit, those people who are either in universities or in these private sectors who are teaching profession, who are teaching management, are they sure of management? How many of them actually worked in field? Those who are in profession, who are professors or lecturers in universities, how many of them work in field, do work in field, or they are just book oriented, take 4 or 5 books and write another book back section, various items of these books, or they have worked in field. Those who are doing PMP, for example, are they really oriented people, or just an imagination? Say, business project management is different. Business management is different. That is also imagination. But we are talking of construction, which is not administration alone, which involves technical, engineering, business, commerce, value, quality, safety. All these sections are plus summed up to deliver a project. And common sense on top of that, because there we deal with all sections of people, highest qualified, highest experienced, highest expert, and lowest educated, labor class, worker class, which do not know ABCD. Those people you have to handle with lowest profile, lower middle profile, higher profile, very higher profile, and all culture oriented people. And particularly in those Gulf countries and all those where more than 150 nationalities are involved, you cannot simply say you have PMP. Can PMP help me in tackling people? Yes, it teaches me some professional work. What is achievement of progress? What are definitions of various terms? What is completion? What is delay? What is this? What is that? What is measurement of progress? How to recover programs? That's okay. That will learn in field as well. Because when I learn in field, I can write and publish books. The problem is I cannot publish books because publishers do not accept that. But when you are head of an institution, you are in running institution, you can recommend that book for your students. So your books are sellable. This is difference. So I was selected there on a priority basis. I was deputed there. Oh, you have to go first. Okay, no problem. I'm not telling I was an expert on that. But question is, practical experience is top, because you are learning every day. Every day you learn there. Every hour you learn there. At night you sleep and you learn and you think. In morning you take bath and you think. You are taking food, you think. That's what I say. Thinking, thinking, and thinking. Making yourself think tank, think reservoir. Then you are really professional, means you think profession. You think engineering. You think designs. You think construction. And you think optimum. You think value. You think how to save resources. You think how to use people to best. How to produce quality. How to undertake safety. All that is required. And if you can do that, your own certificate. Your senses tell that. Your working style exhibits that. Your conduct exhibits that. Your writing exhibits that. Your communication exhibits that. Your talks exhibit that. Your maturity exhibits that. All these must announce that you are these. That is required. Your juniors must learn from you. Your workers must learn from you, and you must teach even your seniors. If they cannot teach you, that is required. That is asset in profession. That is asset in those companies, and that person is asset everywhere. That person is intellectual. That person is genius. That person is source. That person is resources, and that person is leader. It doesn't mean you should have a tag of leader. You should have a quality of leader. Well, I continue further. Sometimes you have to divert attention of people like this, and you may say it's my you can say cleverness. I to befool people like that, right? I'm befooling you. Well, be befool owners up to you to decide. I have a habit to befool people. I'll continue now. Resident engineer and supervision. Resident engineer. A resident engineer shall supervise contract operations on behalf of engineer alone in case job is very small. But for big contracts of constructions, engineer or owner, as case be, according to contract between engineer and owner or promoter, shall provide supporting staff on site who shall act as consultants in supervision of construction activities of operations being carried out by construction contractors according to contract documents. These supporting supervising engineers shall include assistant resident engineer or project coordinators, architects, structural engineer, electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, plumbing engineer, civil engineer, quantity engineer, accounts and secretarial sections, and site assistants as inspector of or clerks of works in different ranks, all as forming one team of supervisors. And also included in this would be safety and quality people, because this is old document, I did not include that one, but that is also relevant. Planning, safety, quality, third party, all that. And of course laboratories. Now this is small layout or can say organizational given engineer and design office, resident engineer for site, then admin, and then deputy assistant. This is a small tree here. You can see that the organizational tree here. You can just read it if you wish, no problem here. And you are lucky that you are reading very old book. This was written, this published 96. 96 means 4 years and 24 years back. Maybe you were born that time, some of you, or were in infant stage. So just see, this is book in paperback. It's not very expensive one. Well, I continue. This is engineering design office, then subordinates resident engineer, and then further subordinates administration, deputy or assistant resident administration, subordinate and specialist engineers in administration office secretaries and cashier, clerk, typist, telephone operator, etc. Means then engineer is the resident engineer, deputy or assistant resident engineer, project coordinator, assistant project coordinator, inspector of works, clerks of works, and then if you come down to specialist side, specialist itself is subordinate electrical engineer, structural engineer, mechanical engineer, plumbing engineer, civil engineer, quantity engineer, electrical quality engineer, safety engineer, planning, etc. Okay, I'm just adding those. This site organizational structure for office of resident is only for purpose for guidance of a medium-sized project and shall vary in strength of placements in different levels depending on needs of support or supervisory work. There may be number of resident engineers for a very big size project, and head of all shall be chief resident engineer for very big size project may be placed to head them and report it to engineer for job. In that case, chief resident engineer shall take instructions from an engineer and supervise job per contract documents. Real coordination work of different phases may be carried out in cooperational way. Experienced architect appointed a specialist engineer, structural and civil engineers appointed specialist engineers and may act as a project coordinator for independent phases and simultaneously specialist for other phases on medium-sized projects where funds are limited and also quantity of operations is of controllable size. It depends on engineer and resident engineer how to organize the management structure. Now, what a resident engineer should do, now that's a major point I'm going to discuss now. Again, I'm reminding you what is resident engineer before you misunderstand or you just join that. Resident engineer means a person who is qualified engineer and that person works for engineer, which engineer means a party on a management contract, second party on which contract there are two parties, one is owner or promoter and other is engineer. Engineer is a manager there, project manager or project engineer you may say, who manages supervision or administration of contract between owner and contractor, that is called construction contract. That construction contract or EPC contract which exists between owner or government or whosoever is there, that is first party, and second party is contractor, that project is administered legally by services of engineer who is having a contract second on a contract second party states this project management contract with owner. This owner and engineer, the same project manager contract supervision of design and supervision, and this party is having construction contract EPC status based on FIDIC or near civil engineering contract or whatever international contract is there. These are two different. So what I'm saying, on engineers, on management side, there is one engineer which is not a party on construction contract but administration for that contract. That is very important to understand because there is also confusion. Engineer term, which is a legal one, which is statutory one, which is contractual one, that exists on management contract, and that is authorized to administer execution contract or construction contract or EPC. On both contracts, owner is number one party, and owner has delegates all powers to engineer on its behalf for purpose of implementation. But cost cannot be deviated. On lump sum contracts, cost is fixed. Even engineer cannot change that without getting approval from owner because this question of budget. No one has got any right to impact budget until there's so urgency. Prior approval must be taken. So engineer exists there. That engineer is real engineer, is contract engineer, not necessarily to be structural engineer. That can be an architect as well. It depends. But it is called engineer means do job, deliver job. That means that. That is engineer. Their engineer and engineer is they're actually titular for name's sake, not on site location. He has to work. That engineer works in legal way because project has so many activities. One man cannot do it. Their representation goes or delegation goes to resident engineer. Means resident engineer in contractual term is a person who works on representative basis, or that person you can say an agent of engineer. Legal agent means resident engineer is there for purpose of implementation, but whatever work that person approves or rejects, that is on responsibility of engineers legally. So there can be resident engineer, and that's what I'm going to do, that explain about that. Resident engineer means actual engineer, eyes of engineers or eyes of owner, who works on site to have surveillance on job, have superintendent's job, have to deliver solutions on job. Responsibility legally is shared by engineer, not by resident engineer. But without resident engineer, nothing can move on site. This is defined in management. This management is not MBA. This management is not PMP. This manages site management, practical management, experience management, which every engineer has to learn. Without learning, yes, you can write books after learning, that is different. But your class is site. Your class is team of professionals who are experienced, pragmatic. They can teach you experiment wise, that can be learned only in field, and that learning can lead you improvement of designs as well, because whatever you see you in field, that is also a lesson, and design engineer also has to learn that before entering into design field. This is what I say, so I'll continue on that. Take it out better. What a resident engineer must do, that I'm going to speak now. A resident engineer shall act on behalf of engineer to ascertain that works as carried out by different construction contractors on site or their subcontractors are all per contract documents, bill of quantities, all drawings, work drawings, material approved, all specifications, manufacturer instructions, and all related details provided. Yeah, this old book. Don't waste my time. Static force. Engineer, and according to contract provided by engineer and according to contract approved construction programs in fixed time or duration as laid down in contract schedule. A resident engineer must be qualified and a competent engineer of architectural, structural, civil engineering discipline on civil engineering projects as shall have to apply all skills that is supposed to acquire during professional study and training at supervision of construction contractors operations under charge. I'll repeat this line again with the first one. A resident engineer shall act on behalf of engineer to ascertain that works are carried out by different construction agencies or contractors on site or their subcontractors, all per contract documents, bill of quantities, drawings, working drawings, material approved, all specifications, manufacturer's instructions, and all related details provided by engineer. And according to contract approved construction program in fixed time or fixed duration as laid down in contract schedule, resident engineer must be qualified and a competent engineer of architectural, structural, or civil engineering discipline on civil engineering projects as he shall have to apply all skills is supposed to acquire during professional studies and training at supervision of construction contractors operation under charge. Job of resident engineer starts even before award of construction contract and continues till final completion certificate is granted by engineer or recommendations of resident engineer's inspections. Resident engineer shall finalize all survey deals with details of plot or land and fix all benchmarks ready, all topographic coordinates ready before joining of construction contractor on site or at least be having complete details with him to pass to construction contractor immediately after handing over site to let related people commence construction operations without wasting a single day. Resident engineer shall be chief executive of engineer on site and a counterpart of agent of construction contractor. Primarily, main job of resident engineer shall be to see that construction contractors do job according to details in documents given by engineer or in contract documents and his designs, and all instructions and obligations to be performed by construction contractors are executed on site according to agreed contract conditions. Resident engineer shall therefore be responsible to engineer in all respects through, though he or she be paid by owner or promoter or whatever be agreement on management contract, shall be loyal to engineer who is responsible for administration of contract as whole. Resident engineer shall remember always that actions taken by him or her shall consequently affect responsibility and obligations of engineer, as engineer is bound by management contract with employer or owner and legally liable and personally responsible, and therefore to make good doubts and approaches to job or for procedures, resident engineer shall report to engineer and seek guidance. Resident engineer should suggest and advise engineer from time to time, as he shall know operations of site 100% due to his being abreast of site full time and well aware of site conditions and difficulties of real execution and troubles faced at site and ways out of them how to. Resident engineer shall be a technical scout to engineer as far as engineering matters are concerned, and to take responsibilities of engineer in practical terms, but not legally. Engineer cannot pass his responsibility to resident engineer on his behalf or staff for actions taken by them, as all actions should be treated as if taken by engineer in legal terms of contract with owner. Contract between owner and engineer states that engineer shall use all skills and judgments to design and construction of project or job as a whole. Engineer shall be considered negligent, failing to check what resident engineer and staff do during supervision of works executed by contractor, and any negative consequential effect would be borne by engineer in contractual terms. Resident engineer cannot be held responsible for failure of a structure in legal considerations due to engineers being completely responsible and liable for design. Resident engineer shall all time bear in mind that he shall be responsible to engineer and not to owner, user, and therefore should not act on owner's opinion in technical matters, and seek instructions from engineer only, even after being instructed by owner. This is legal matter, that's what I'm explaining to you. Resident engineer shall see that all documents have been issued to construction contractor in time so as to avoid any claims due to delayed issue. Resident engineer shall see that site has been cleared and handed over to contractor per date of commencement. Resident engineer shall see that all site staff have been introduced to contractor or contractor's agent and engineers, for which preliminary site meeting before handover of that or called kick-off meeting shall be conducted by resident engineer and recorded with due circulation of minutes of meeting and decisions taken, if whatever. Resident engineer shall see that contractor has proposed curriculum vitae of site supervising personnel and superintending in charge, such as site agent, deputy agent, project coordinators, site engineers, deputy engineers, site assistants and foremen and surveyors, etc., and that contractor has proposed site establishments for which layout of site offices of contractor offices as well as resident engineers offices be included for purpose of approval by resident engineer or engineer. Resident engineer shall see that site mobilization is done as soon as possible. Resident engineer shall see that contractor has proposed programs for approval by engineer in prescribed limit per condition or specification. Resident engineer shall see that site benchmarks, points of references or lines of coordinates general have all been explained to shown to contractor's agent, so agent may proceed for setting out of buildings and layouts. Resident engineer shall see that surveys of existing site levels are jointly done by agent and man from resident engineer office as deputed for purpose. Failing that, resident engineer shall be bound to do survey works before commencement of excavation, and that must be brought to notice of agent. If resident engineer does not do that, he shall accept levels given by agent. Here I shall like to add here, because this is old one. These days there is automatic system of GPS, and generally it's better to use third party for purpose of establishment of permanent benchmark on whatever site. Permanent benchmark is an external benchmark where you have to bring your internal benchmark in within site. That can be taken from GPS using GPS instrument, and that authorized person, maybe I don't know what's here in our country, but generally authorized surveyors are available, third party surveyors. They can shift from actual benchmark to your site level as well as coordinates, both x-axis, y-axis. They can bring in their both coordinates, your technical coordinates, and also your level benchmarks. Both can be fixed ones for which they take responsibility. And there is benchmark, two benchmark, one is for the level and one is for coordinate. You can then establish your own benchmarks on your excavation in perimeter or wherever you need. That is done these days. In those days, when I was talking about, it was not available, but this is now about 96 to 2020, say about 25 years, 24 years. So that development is affected. So you may use third-party system for your benefit as well as your interest, because those people shall take responsibility of those benchmarks. Well, I continue again. After this, that resident shall see that site mobilization done as soon as possible. Resident shall see that contractor has proposed programs for approval by engineer in prescribed limit per condition specifications. Am I right or wrong? Let me see. Okay. Resident shall see that site mobilization done as soon as possible. See that contractor has proposed program for approval by engineer in prescribed limit per conditions of specification. Shall see that site benchmarks, points of references or lines of coordinates general have also been explained, as I said earlier. Shall see that surveys of existing site levels are jointly done. Okay. Then as explained just now, it's done by third party. So shall see, make sure that agent is aware of job coordinates, working systems with resident office. Resident engineer shall explicitly explain to agent how to fit in with systems of handling, coordination on project for materials and drawings, submittals, site inspections, reports, records, maintenance, and required standards performance be given to agent. Once again, I repeat this. Two paragraphs. I received two. Resident engineer shall see that surveys of existing site levels are jointly done by agents and men from resident engineer's office as deputed for purpose. Failing that, resident engineer shall be bound to do survey works before commencement of excavation, and that must be brought to notice of agent. If resident engineer does not do that, shall accept labels given by agent. Shall make sure that agent is aware of job conditions, job coordinations, working systems with resident's office. Resident engineer shall explicitly explain to agent how to fit in with system of handling coordination on projects for material and drawing submittals, site inspections, reports, records, maintenance, etc., and required standards pro forma be given to agent for further use. Shall ensure that contractor has finalized appointments of probable subcontractors to be deployed on job for allied services, and details of forms of subcontractors curriculum vitae shall be asked for complete package for engineer's approval as soon as possible, and this curriculum vitae shall be asked for all or related key personnel from contractor as well as subcontractor, and shall efficiently see that actions on part of agents are to acceptable standards or guy needs guidance. Guy means agent needs guidance. RE or resident engineer shall give agent time to acquaint himself with system and site and understand each other, and both may know each other thoroughly. In beginning, agent doesn't know how strict is resident engineer, and resident engineer doesn't know about caliber of agent and contractor and competency of job which they have to do. Resident engineer shall guide agent on matters of contract operations, and about area and standards to be maintained in advance. Shall see that contractor starts making material submittals, shop drawing submittals, program submittals in time. If not, shall instruct and advise agent to be careful in operations of a particular contract clause requiring submissions in a prescribed time limit to avoid the delay and record bad performance on part of contractor. Resident engineer shall also ascertain work person strength of contractors, mechanical potential on site, material arrivals and financial status, whether enough to run site or fall short of requirement per contract's promises obligations. Shall check with specialized engineers attached with all details of submittals done by contractor in different phases. The engineer shall inspect plants and machines with assistants and ascertain working conditions and working efficiency of these machines on site. Shall inspect central mixing plant for concrete or batching plant or plants on raw site with specialist structural engineer and coordinators and assess functioning of to that to grant approval to be used for job which shall enclose all accessories, calibrations of various gauges, supporting a structure of batching plant, whether manually controlled or by use of computer, and number of transit mixers or trucks of concrete that may be used at time of major force. Resident engineer shall see that concrete ingredients are all stored properly per specified standards on site or batching plant and properly protected against inclement weather conditions. Resident engineer shall see that machines do not pose danger to human life during operations, that there shall be no chance of accident. Ensure that safety measures are taken by contractor per construction site safety standards as a part of contract document. Resident engineer shall ask a contractor to send samples selected by it or assistance to laboratory regularly for technical examinations and submit test reports from laboratories already approved by engineer. In approval of laboratory is very important part, means we are just talk here before later on I forget. Well, our country I'm not talking about, I'm talking in general what's happening worldwide. Means laboratories are independent one. You may say third party. It's not dependent on owner, it's not dependent on engineer, as well as not dependent on supplier or someone else. These laboratories are independent, and must be screened, must be licensed by authorities for purpose of independent work. It should not fear contractor as well as should not fear someone else. That system must exist where fearlessly correct report is issued, not under pressure. These laboratories should not be under government or should not be under someone else, should be clearly professional units. I think it's not existing here, but it's applicable all over the world where there are professionals. We don't have professionals in our country. We are only tags and certificates. Resident shall discuss program of contractor jointly with agent and assistants and comment on that for further incorporation with the revision of same as case be till same is approved, and having scrutinized submission of material working drawings programs, resident engineer shall recommend approval to engineer formally. Program. What is program actually? We have to be clear about that. There are so many names given these days. Program means a scheme, it means a plan, it means a sequence of activities, and it means sequence of various programs. There could be 4 buildings in one project, it could be 1 building in one project, There could be big city, township, or infrastructure place like some refinery plant, some other plant, whatever could be project. Every we have plan for whole project. We have plan for each part of project. That plan must be level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5 these days. But when I am talking about in those days, these levels were not available there, and because computers were not available there, so we used to do these plans by manual work, like drawing something. We had to think out activities ourselves, what sequence of activities is. Major sequence means master plan. This is, we can say, master plan, master program. Then there are four buildings, say 4 separate programs, and this all work to be coordinated. If there are 10 buildings, there must be one master plan plus 10 other plans. And what activity we have to incorporate, that depends on what sort of project is that, what sort of design is that. This means we have to understand, you have to go through all technical details of that, and then you have to analyze it and form a sequence of activities. And these activities, after that, must be given time limit. We have to perform this activity within this period, which depends upon your master plan. Which plan it says, level 1, that is called actually. This is the start of project and this is delivery of project. And all those buildings or structures which are covered in must be within this limit. You have to give limit this, and this. And you have to keep in view final 1 or 2 months for purpose of testing and commissioning, because that is also a part of project, a part of delivery. So once you produce this, you have to think a lot. Computer cannot think itself. You have to think. You have to feed that information. Your mind should tell you what you are doing. That is called planning, programming, scheme, bar chart, CPM, whatever. For a common person, bar chart is easily understood. CPM and PERT are not easily understood. Critical path method, program evaluation review technique, these are very complicated methods that cannot be understood by everyone. Only engineers can, sometimes engineers also cannot understand. So bar chart is very common, which can be further analyzed based on other methods. That sequence is very important. There can be overlaps, there can be parallel activities, there can be sequential activities, which you have to decide. You have to allow time limit. All programs must be together in coordination with each other. There should be no clash. That is what is required. And it depends upon what design you have, what specifications you have, what is the requirement, what is standard, everything is required, and how many workers you are going to deploy on that job. Sometimes there is a crunch of supply of manpower, supply of resources. For example, it's a country, a foreign country, UAE, Middle East, or West country, where there may be crunch. You cannot find people, so you have a fixed amount, you have fixed quantity of personnel, fixed strength of personnel or workers, or you can say workforce. You have to depend upon that. Then you have to chart out your program accordingly. This is what is important. If you are able to do that, on that basis, you have to coordinate, you have to interact with your professional people as contractor, as consultant, and then continue on that. That is what very complexity exists. And then see what resources are required, how many days you can patch in, and what strength is there, and whether you work in 8 hours or 10 hours or 12 hours or in shifts. It depends on that. I have seen people working shifts round clock. It happens also when there's shortage of people, or there's shortage of time, or something is there which constrains you. Those factors must be considered in that. And that's what's called planning, or that's called programming, or what do we call it. We'll move further. So I said resident engineer shall discuss program of contractor jointly with agent and assistants and comment on that for further incorporation with or revision of same as case be till same is approved. Having scrutinized submission of materials, working drawings, programs, resident engineer shall recommend approval to engineer formally. So these are done. Now, resident engineer shall remember that final approval of all submittals shall be entrusted to engineer only per contract requirements. Shall prefer to advise in case some discrepancy is discovered on or observed on documents immediately to engineer for remedial measures. Resident engineer shall refer to engineer any irregularity if found in contract documents. Means resident engineer shall refer to engineer if there is something like that, some deficiency or irregularity if discovered or observed on documents or contract itself, or ambiguity of language or clause, or certain contractual or technical mistake as pointed out by quantity or contract engineer for clarification immediately. This is all management work. Resident engineer shall coordinate works of various contractors to agree detailed program of works or plan of works. To see, we also schedule, we also call it schedule or schedule, to see that all necessary instructions are passed to them in time, and should expeditiously furnish inquire details of site clarifications by contractors. Resident engineer shall see that approved materials are ordered by contractor in time and time of arrival as has been shown as ETA or expected time of arrival in status tallies to program requirements, and all permits have been obtained by contractor or should help agent obtain same. Resident engineer shall see that third-party insurance has been done for all works persons on site as required on labor laws of area. Now, before going further with this material order, I have to add something according to what I learned. Maybe it's not clear to many. There are various materials on every project. There are materials which are manufactured, one which are available. There were manufactured which are not available immediately. Nowadays, technology has advanced so much that project duration has been reduced. This is building project or not a building project, some other project, plant project, facility project, added. You need sometimes voluminous quantities of materials. And sometimes it happens that it takes time for delivery. Sometimes time of delivery as much that you cannot, your project time is not that much that accommodate that delivery. Means you can't say that you will get that material during duration of project. That raises a question mark. Now, how to manage that project if material is not available? Because sometimes there are very specific items. For example, GRP, galvanized, this is not galvanized, GRP, glass reinforced plastics, epoxy pipes. So many materials are there which takes time for delivery, and your plan cannot accommodate that. So what happens in that case? I have seen experience in my career that this item is called long lead item. Long lead item means it takes more time than required. You cannot afford that. Then you are a contractor. How to make project deliver? In that case, what happens? Pre-work is done by owner itself. Whoever is owner, he is advised that before awarding work or bid, we have to do this exercise ourselves. They inquire and open bids for purpose of that material procurement. That is called long lead items. That means whatever contractor was required to do, owner does himself through help of engineer. It floats quotations, tenders or whatever bid, and gets prices as well as places order for procurement. That is called long lead item management. They make payments, they execute contracts between owner and manufacturer or vendor, whatever that is. And it is agreed between these two parties that this contract shall be declared void once contract between contractors and owner is executed, and this contract shall transfer itself to that contract. This contract which was signed or executed between owner and manufacturer would constitute an integral part of execution contract between owner and contractors, and that is called novation of contract. Novation. Novation of contract means that contract of manufacturing of that material would constitute an integral part of that contract of execution between contractor and owner. Novation of contract. So by virtue of that clause or article on contract, legal responsibility and complete responsibility of that contract between owner and manufacturer shall be shared by execution contractors, works contractors. Complete responsibility shall be shared, and that is called novated contract, novation contract. This is something you have to understand. How to manage long lead means complete order and process managed by owner and later on shared completely in all respects with all liabilities by contractor. That is what I tell. Okay. Then, so I was talking about resident shall see that third party insurance has been done for all works person on site as required in labor law area. Resident engineer shall see that specifications in regard to materials are complied with and workmanship standards are maintained. In case of non-compliance of specification and poor or unacceptable workmanship standards, resident engineer shall ensure see or issue site memorandum to contractor through agent and copy to engineer and record. Shall issue remedial notes to in case major rectification is required on site and agent has been found to be ineffective on actions to be taken on site memos. Once again I read this is also very important. In case of non-compliance of specification, or we can say non-compliance of specification and poor or unacceptable workmanship standards, resident engineer shall issue site memorandum to contractor through agent and copy to engineer and record. Shall issue remedial notes in case major rectification is required on site and agent has been found to be ineffective on actions to be taken on site. Now this is called a quality part. In those days there was no system, but now there is a system, and that is called quality system. Quality system, total quality management, and quality control is a part of that. Quality control is a part of that in a way for material, for production. One is management system, in that means how your systems move. Other one is material controls. If you sum both system and controls, material controls, that is called quality system. In this quality system, this which I was talking about, absence of quality compliance, that is covered in this. This means there is a quality section on every project. That section controls quality of work done. That quality control, if there is a failure on compliance, you have to take action. This action is not that you send person to polish, but to how to rectify defects which have been non-compliant, and that is called remedial act. Means quality person has to search it, discover it, discuss with site guys, issue a note if it's not done that this is non-compliance. It's called NCR, not non-compliance report, and that is issued. It's better if it's not issued and done otherwise, or if it's not done, you have to issue that. And then a method has to come that we shall report this way, we'll repair or reinstate this way so that your work meets quality. That's called remedial action. And when remedial action is done, it's inspected and approved then this NCR document, which is, you can say, a instrument that can stop your payment. This document is called NCR and it's on record, a quality record. This is nowadays in function everywhere. I'm talking I told this was 25 years back, so now it's different development. So resident engineers shall see that building layouts, alignments, levels shall be surveyed to design requirements. Resident engineers shall see that additional technical instructions as found necessary to be passed to site are issued in time promptly. This is natural and normal. And resident engineers shall see that any clarification or whatever clarification required by site agents are issued promptly. Clarification means something is not clear. You can say it's also a matter of coordination. There may be hundreds of documents, thousands of architectural, structural, services, non-services, and standard specifications, general specifications, project specifications, and BOQ, and so many, and so on and so forth. It's duty of contractor to read everyone, to study everyone, and correlate with each other. And there will be mix-ups. Some things will be there which do not meet or do not form chain of a success or coordinated chain. Then that point must be raised up before it is done on site, and that's cause, you can say, clarification, or that you can call it a conflict or whatever it is. For that you must obtain a clarification, a clearance that we understand document. We means contractor as well as engineer both understand in one page, we are on one page, and that's called best clarification. So resident engineer shall see that any whatever clarification requested by site agent has been issued promptly, and resident engineer shall see that all staff engaged for purpose of inspections are efficiently acting to contractor's request, and supervision is carried out to standards within prescribed limits. Resident engineer shall ascertain that proper coordination is done among electrical and mechanical subcontractors under control of agent and help agent by engagement of specialist engineer. This we explained a lot, we understood a lot before when we talked of responsibilities of electrical engineers and mechanical engineers and other engineers. In that we told this, and I think that will help you. Who's there? Shabataj. Sabataj. Thank you, Sabataj. I didn't notice you. Well, welcome to this. I'm not sure you're an engineer or not. Well, you can, even if you're not an engineer, you can learn. Otherwise, if you're an engineer, thank you. You can also issue your suggestions. Resident engineer shall help agent on his request to adjust timings of concreting and overtime works. Resident engineer shall help agent on his request to adjust timings of concrete and overtime works. Resident engineer shall hold monthly technical and coordination meetings and also monthly progress review meetings jointly called contract site meeting, wherein progress of works are compared to approved program. Status of material submittal and approval status. Working drawing submittals and approval status. Distribution of working drawings, technical decisions pending, contractual matters, materials delivered to site, financial matters such as payments made to contractors, claims and other matters left to be covered in contract meetings. All matters shall be referred to engineer in case relates to be decided by him on contractual or design matters. Minutes of meeting should be prepared and circulated by resident engineer to all those present in meeting, contractor, the engineer, owner, and related. This is a long paragraph. I will speak again. Resident engineer shall hold monthly technical and coordination meetings and also monthly progress review meetings jointly called contract site meetings, wherein progress of works as compared to approved programs, status of materials, submittals and approved status, approval status, working drawing submittals and approval status, distribution of working drawings, technical decisions pending, contractual matters, materials delivered to site, financial matters such as payments made to contractors, claims and all other matters left to be covered in contract meetings. All matters shall be referred to engineer in case relates to be decided by him on contractual or design matters. Minutes of meeting should be prepared and circulated by resident engineer to all those present in meetings, contracts, or etc. Now this is a big job, management job, meetings. Every project runs monthly or fortnightly or weekly. Depending on progress, depending on quality production, meetings are required. Two types of meetings I mentioned: technical and coordination meeting and progress review or contract meeting. These are very common. Technical and coordination meeting means where you consider services generally and other issues related to architecture and structure. This meeting requires presence of services people. They may be subcontractors or they may be your people. This meeting of technical and coordination nature is very detailed meeting because you are involving issues related to shop drawings, working drawings, how work is going on, procurement of whatever material is there, details of material, compatibility of material, and material is right or not right. All those are seen in that, where we are, what percentage we have done on procurement, what percent we have done on material submittals, what percentage we have done on drawing submittals. Or these are and interactive discussions, means intercoordination with various services, electrical, mechanical services, mechanical civil services, then plumbing services, lift services, and all other services. Actually, you can say nowadays building management services, CCTV and SCADA and whatever else. That is done in technical and coordination meeting. Sometimes contractor does it, sometimes engineer does it. It depends upon whatever procedure is. In certain organizations, contractor does it itself acts as chair of that meeting, and that meeting becomes a part of contract meeting, which is a higher level. Contract meetings are made to review contract performance, what contract is there, prime contract, and you have to see where we are used that, and this coordination meeting becomes a part of that meeting. Because if you keep that discussion in management meeting or contract meeting, it takes a lot time. So better they say you do it separately, so that you are conducting this meeting, you act as chairman, or even if they act as chairman, it doesn't matter. Means question is those detailed talks, detailed discussion. There are hundreds and hundreds of materials in all disciplines: electrical, mechanical, or you can say gases or plumbing. There will be hundreds of matters which require interaction, discussion, because all must be on site in time. So that is a complete boring and technical meeting. And then it comes to management contract meeting, which is very same time, maybe 2 days, 3 days later on, is done. And that covers major aspects: status of contract, status of material, status of drawings, status of services, what percentage you have covered, what materials are not available, what quality problems are on site, what safety problems are on site. All these are discussed. Who is responsible for what? Where is engineer failing? Where is RE failing? Where is owner failing? Where is contractor failing? Where are subcontractors failing? Where are other people failing? All these are covered in that. Quality status, safety status. What should we, how to expedite progress if there is a lapse on progress? Should we require recovery program or will just grant extension? So many issues are there. Is there work suspension? Is there work delay? Is there a strike on site? Or are we going to suspend this work? Or contract is deferring work? Or contractors want to give up contract? So many issues are there. All this requires big attention. All this requires contract knowledge and work knowledge. That's where meetings are involved. Then resident engineer shall issue site memos to agent, public contractor, site instruction, and prepare engineer's instructions for engineer's signature. All this I have already explained in past discussions. what is site instruction and what is engineers, I will discuss. Resident engineer shall issue all remedial notes to contractors for doing remedial works on rejected items of contract. So I discussed that one in NCR. Resident engineer shall recommend to engineer after scrutiny done by quantity engineer of valuations for release of payments. Yes, valuations means work done payment. This valuation is not that type which you think of. Whatever work has been done, it is to be paid monthly basis or whatever frequency you agree with. For that, contractor representative and resident representative sit together and finalize so that a payment certificate be issued that this is bill. All right. Then resident engineer shall see that measurements are taken of all completed works depending upon type of contract. Yes, this is a little important one. I am saying measurement be taken. What happens? One type of contract says you have to measure each item and record, and there's a fixed rate for each item. Then you have to pay how much work has been done in volume or in measurement square or in measurement linear. Accordingly, you pay. That is called item rate contract. But there's another one which is called lump sum contract. Lump sum contract and lump sum itemized rate contract. Lump sum contract says this is fixed sum for this job. These are drawing, these are specifications, this is time, and this is penalty as well, liquidated damages. If you do not deliver this project in this time, you have to bear this damage. That's called lump sum contract. Amount cannot change, sum cannot change. What happens there doesn't matter. Come what may, it will not change until there is change in contract conditions. There is change in design or there is change in scope of work. Lump sum fixed price is lump sum fixed price. You have to work, contractor has to work according to documents, whatever design is there on drawings, whatever specification exists, and whatever procedures speak, what you agreed for, that is done and shall be done accordingly without any additional payment. Yes, there will be omissions and additions. There would be. That shall be deducted or added depending upon what is done. But there can be no more change in your budget, in your lump sum amount. Lump sum. That is what it is. When it is lump sum, drawings are there, designs are there, everything is there. You cannot change sum. This means there is no need of each item measurement. Why to measure? If you have to complete this and we have to pay you this, that's it. Quantity may be higher, quantity may be lower. I agreed, that's it. No more exploration on that, because my right was at time of bidding, I could say this quantity whatever giving in bill is not matching with this, but bill of quantity there is not legal document, it is just for purpose of guidance that this quantity is possible on this project. But it was your responsibility to ensure, don't depend upon that quantity. You check yourself. You make your own view. We are not going to stop you. This means on lump sum fixed price contract, there is no need of measurement every time. It is measured already on your amount. But when there is no fixed price contract, it's item based contract. They say whatever work is done on site, we will pay accordingly. With using this unit rate, then you have to measure all items during progress. And then final measurement is done at end, and then payment is made. This is what I'm talking about. Okay. Yes. Resident engineer shall see that measurements are taken of all completed works depending upon type of contract. Resident engineer shall insist on contractor to update all his claims for extras or deletions based on engineer's instruction. So same be included in valuation I have discussed with you. Resident engineer shall act as a channel to all claims and disputes and should provide facts to engineer. Resident engineer shall keep all records of measurements and tests and bring plans to conformity with work being done on site. Plans of conformity means whatever is given on documents, on drawings, etc. Work done should be same, no deviation. Resident engineer shall see that finished works are free from defects, tested and set in proper functions of operation. And resident engineer shall ascertain that final cost, value of works under various contracts, and advise the engineer on variations on cost, expected cost. Resident engineer shall keep engineer informed of all developments taking place on site as explained and not limited to that only. Resident engineer shall witness all operations, tests in AC systems testing and commissioning, and also in electrical and plumbing and drainage systems with help of specialist engineers. So all testings is done on site. Actually, testing is done as fix 1, fix 2, and then testing and commissioning at final stage. Resident engineer shall check room by room satisfactory completion of all elements included in construction per contract descriptions and keep records of acceptances of all rooms one by one based on comments of specialists, as same records shall form part of taking our contractor for practical completion for purposes of maintenance. This concept I'm telling you, room by room, we used to call that time. Now this is fine inspections of each area of room, and it has to be seen on site or ensured on site that all items are covered, whatever were included on designs and specifications. Each area is inspected and ensured, and whatever is missing there, qualitatively or quantitatively, that has to be recorded as a punch list. And this is actually nearing final completion or practical, I should not say final completion, practical completion. You must understand difference between two first before going further. Practical completion means a stage when you do work practically, means that day when you do say practical completion has happened, which means your physical works have been done. Certain defects may be there, which is called punch list. Some defects or some other points or observations were noted. That may be taken within maintenance period if that exists. Maintenance period means somewhere it is 1 year, somewhere 400 days, or whatever is given there on your contract. In that period, whatever small minorities, definitions or works are left can be corrected, can be applied with remedial actions. That's what it says, means punch list is before mechanical completion, and punch list is talked of and finalized, and completion can be granted if there is no major work left. That is meaning of this. So we say room by room we check. So the resident engineer shall see that agent, deputy agent, or site engineers and all other responsible people are on site during execution of operations to dispose duties satisfactorily in interest of job. Otherwise, shall give opportunity to them for improvement and make personal discussions with agent, and should pursue matter with engineer to ask contractor to take off any of personal from site due to being inefficient and replace. This is very common. Is If somebody is not suitable on site, why to keep that burden unnecessary? This question of work means work cannot be risked of. If person doesn't, the job should not be there. Why to all leave it? Resident engineer shall is listen to contractor. Listen to contractor, agent calmly and look into proposals and suggestions, and if found conforming standards recommend to engineer for approval, subject to no additional cost, but if possible make a saving. This is question of alternatives. If contractor proposes this, that can be considered. Means why to reject something just because you are a contractor? You cannot say this. No, it's not like that. And then resident engineer shall request contractor's agent to provide method statement for a particular disputed operation or activity on site, and on being satisfied, permit same to be applied on risk of contractor for making good in case of unsatisfactory performance done on site. This is nowadays management angle, project management point, technical management point. What we are talking about in those days, when I wrote this book, it was based on my experience of 1985, 86. There's some dispute and they wanted me to prove that how you're going to do. So I was demanded to submit one method statement, and I did that. But now trend has changed. Method statement is conventional for every activity, for whole project. During bidding time, you have to write method statement, or that is called execution statement, which becomes a part of technical submission. I have already explained what is technical submission and what is commercial submission. Technical submission plus commercial submission equal to bid. If technical submission is competent, then commercial is taken up. Otherwise, if technical submission is rejected, no need of moving further. And method statements now. Practice is nowadays that whatever work you do on site, how you shall do, what sequence shall be there, what technology shall be there, what standards shall be applied, that must be agreed in advance before starting that activity. And that term is called method statement. Being a contractor, it is your duty to write what way you shall do this work. There may be repetitive method statements and there will be specific method statements for specific activities. These method statements, construction method statements or procedures must be agreed and approved prior to commencement of that activity. That is written for all activities, all permanent activities, and sometimes it's also required for temporary activities or preparatory activities. That's called method statement, because every contractor has different working system. They can do this way, they can do that way, they can do that way. Whatever way you're going to do, you have to write in advance and get it approved. And after approval, you have to follow it. That's also true. You cannot say, no, if you want to change that, you have to write again. If you say, no, I'm not going to do this way, okay, get another approval. Supersede previous one. That is done this way. And sometimes we say there are repetition activities for you have to do 1,000 times concrete, you have to do 1,000 times flooring, you have to do so many times. In that you have write a repetitive statement that we will do this activity this way, in a standardized way. That is what is done. For concrete pouring activity, excavation activity, so many issues are here. Curing, we can say that we can standardize that method statement. Now I'll move to resident shall issue authorization letter to contractor for purpose of coordinations with statutory bodies, organizations on request of contractor. Same way he shall assist agent in all such matters. That shall be helpful in job, though not a part of responsibility, but to develop best working relations on site in interest of contract. What it is? Authorization letter to contractor for purpose of coordinations with statutory bodies, organizations. This is also management important point. Maybe it's a practical work. What happens? Well, I'm talking of those professionalism which exists elsewhere other than our country. Here you can do whatever you want. When you are excavating, you can break pipe, you can break cable, you can break whatever you want. Here nobody questions. But when you are working in a field where there is a strict rule, strict compliance, you are working somewhere in a city or in suburban area or in some village or in some industrial area or in some plant facility area on seashore, live areas, brown areas, not green areas, you will find many utilities, many live services in those areas, but you cannot find by eyes, you cannot see that, but services are working. How to know that? Once you start excavation, you break it. But before breaking it, before doing that risk, you have to know where now is. What is way? Only way is in a professional city, in a record city where everything is on record, authorities or agencies maintain all records of work done on services, underground services, which are not visible. These people during completion time of the affairs keep all records. That's called as-built drawings or record drawings of work done, because whatever is planned or designed, not necessarily that is done. Everything can't be shown paper. So whatever actually is done on site, if there is some change, that is recorded in red lines, and if not, no change is there, whatever design is record drawing. It is red line, that red line is approved and converted to record drawings or as-built drawings and then submitted to authorities, so that in future you know where what was done. That's called drawings from authorities. So when you start something, you must know what's there. That information you will get from certain authority, and because you are not related to authority directly, you have to go through your consulting engineer or engineer who has given the project. You will get some authority letter from that person. Okay, this man is ours, or this contracts man, they have started this, they have to do these services. Give them complete information of that area. Give them electrical department, go to HVAC department or civil defense department or some other department. You get this information, get this one. Then you have to know where services, then you can locate that services. If it is outside of your site, no problem. If within your site and require diversion of that, you have to do that according to local requirement, according to the authority department. Maybe diversion, or maybe you have to close this, you have to stop this, depending upon the contract. Then you have to deal with those people of authority and pay them accordingly. That's what I'm talking about. If you break that service, you damage electrical current, the service or cable or water line or sewer line or whatever is there, if you do that, then their rules apply. There may be monetary punishment, or there may be legal punishment or imprisonment. You must keep in mind. That's not here you do everything and nobody cares, everyone accepts this. There it doesn't. Only 2 hours 24 minutes left, in complete 3 hours better. So resident engineer and his staff should not accept gifts and bribes of whatever kind or some other gratification which may equally amount to acceptance as bribe, except seasonal greetings and best wishes as on birthdays or on some other successful day or on festivals from social and professional viewpoint. So you know bribe is banned. That's it. Resident shall ask Here, one point I would like to say, bribe is banned, but don't think if your contractor is giving you tea or coffee or little refreshment or soft drink, that is bribe. Because in contracts, a clause is inserted. In preambles or somewhere else, a clause is inserted that site offices shall be provided by contractor with refreshment facilities and assistance and stationery and all that to keep that office run and keep these people refreshed whenever required. So that is not bribe. That is payment is made to contractor for that on contract. A provisional payment contractor writes or contractor may say it is included within items. So this is not bribe on contracts because your project is in jungle, is in desert, is off city, there's no shop, there's nothing, you cannot do. Then you have to keep office boy. You have to maintain a small kitchen with some office boy operating that one. That person can give cold water, that can give tea, coffee, or something else. Can sometimes prepare a little food for you also when you're night or somewhere else. That is what is called. This is not bribe. Then we are paying. Contract is paid for that. Then resident engineer shall ask inspector or clerk of works to meet daily and report progress on site, diary of resident engineer and activities in progress, and discuss problems and if possible in presence of agent. Simple it is. Once again, a resident engineer shall ask inspector or clerk of works, it's called COW, to meet daily and report progress on site, diary of regional engineer and activities in progress, and discuss problems and if possible presence of agent. That's very common. It happens on day-to-day basis. Resident engineer shall request a site agent to keep him informed of all developments of progress and daily job record, weekly program, etc. This is also very normal. Then resident engineers shall see that specialist engineers take timely actions to scrutinize and solve technical disputes occurred on site due to whatever reason. So this is also means you have to interact with all those specialist engineers and resident engineers every day to solve that technical and other duties, other problems that happen on site. Resident engineers shall not consider resident engineers shall not consider specification volumes as religious guides. Try to understand. Resident engineer shall not consider specification volumes as religious guide, as not to permit certain variation or any variation or aberration. Actually, practical points should inevitably be considered and should the specifications are not deviated, contractor suggestions may be considered depending on merits of case. Means I am reading like Bible, like Quran, that won't work. Yes, it is written, but written by whom? By human being, by engineers, by architects, by service engineers, by others. Do like this, do like this. But there may be something you may say not relevant, superfluous, or site doesn't accept that, or convention doesn't accept that. Practically, these are others, something else. In that case, you cannot say no, I have to do that, and RS says no, I have to. They can sit and decide if there is some lapse, solve it and record it. It's not simply resolved, record it also. That this was a question, that was an answer, this was a problem, this was a solution, we confirm it, we accept it. That's done. Okay. Resident engineer shall ascertain that contractor is not being harassed. Very important. Contractor is not being harassed and no injustice caused to contractor, and contractor should give same in return. You may call here scandal, scam, but it's not a scam in work. Resident engineer shall maintain a personal diary and make entries with remembrance on that day and meeting with important persons in connections to job, and notes in brief of discussions held and what was kept pending or whatever significant point which would help in future for reference and reconciliation, recollection in case some point comes up later for discussion. Means resident should write something for himself in diary every day, so that it is actually habit of everybody, not only resident engineers. All right, because you cannot remember each thing. If there's something specific, you can write on that date. This is pending, this is not pending. It's for your sake itself. Though we all do that. Somebody directly, somebody indirectly. So I don't think that's a problem here. You can actually accept that. And resident engineer shall see that proper filing system is maintained by secretary. Proper filing system is maintained by secretary. It's worth mentioning here that resident engineer, contractor, and all concerned must be explicitly instructed and informed by engineer regarding powers and authorities delegated to resident engineer for contract operations. So correct approaches must be made by contractor and all linked concerned persons on contract. In explanation skill here, just filings are required to maintain and required to be maintained. Whenever required, you can check that and find that, and secretary does it. Resident secretary does it, because resident is a very big person. They must have secretaries and others of all, and they must have all engineers and that. You have to tell people, means tell contractor what's the responsibilities of resident engineer, and same thing for site people, and what site people responsibilities are must be told to all these engineers. Told all these is job description. You can see nowadays that's called job description at the right time to be informed, shaped others. Now, resident engineer's main duty. Resident engineer's main duty is to watch and check workmanship and material used. Workmanship and material used. Resident engineer shall act in manner as an agent of engineer, and therefore in all major matters must refer to superior particularly in disputed case. Resident engineer shall always bear in mind that engineer is responsible for actions taken by him and his staff, and in addition, engineer's representative becomes unlimited when he is specialist on same profession as job per law. This means should resident engineer act negligently In founding a building which results in a collapse, engineer who himself is a consulting engineer will be held responsible, and honor user may show engineer for loss of building and all incidental damage. Any passersby injured or dead to be compensated, and maybe that all wealth, wealth, properties, assets of engineer be attained, attached if found guilty, negligent to date, the duty. Do you understand? No. Let me repeat again. Resident engineer's main duty is to watch and check workmanship, quality, safety, everything, and material used. So it's a part of quality. Resident engineer shall act in a manner as an agent of engineer. Yes, agent of engineer. There is one agent of contractor, and therefore, in all major matters, he must refer to his superior, particularly in disputed case. Resident engineer shall always bear in mind that engineer is responsible for actions taken by him and his staff, and in addition, engineer's responsibility becomes unlimited when he is a specialist of same profession as job or law. This means, should resident engineer acts negligently in founding a building which results in a collapse, engineer who himself is a consulting engineer will be held responsible for responsible and honor usually make sure that engineer for loss of building and all incidental damages. Any passerby injured or dead to be compensated, and maybe that all wealth, properties, assets of engineer be attached if found guilty, negligent duty. When engineer encounter is in employment of employer shall be responsible for all actions of agent and servants. Now what this says, a few paragraphs this also left. In case resident engineer issues any instruction to contractors and contractor considers that instruction constitutes a variation on higher side extras and instructions silent for extras, well, I'll talk this. Now what I'm saying is about this, which I said that responsibility of resident engineer works on site to ensure that work is done according to requirements. Simple. And that is the works on behalf of engineer. Means whatever work is done by resident engineer means it has been done by engineer. Now, if there is a lapse, something happens on work, and you may say design fails. If something happens on works means there's some accident, something else, for that contractor is responsible. Or we are talking of construction contract. If design fails, something happens, and design was done by engineer shall be held responsible. And if engineer is paid by employer or owner on percentage basis as fee, then engineer shall be fully liable for whatever mishaps happen due to design. If engineer is employed then employer shall be responsible, not contractor. Contractor is responsible for purpose to comply with contract, not for sufficiency of contract, not for sufficiency of designs. But engineer shall be responsible for whatever decision resident engineer takes on site. If resident engineer takes wrong decision, engineer is responsible. If resident engineer takes right decision, engineer is responsible. Even if resident engineer accepts something which should be rejected, that can be challenged also. Engineer asks for, no, I want to see again. I want to examine it. And if it is found that it's okay, that was right, that was not wrong, that's according to specifications, then you have to make payment for that work done. That's also there. We'll continue further. In case resident engineer issues instruction to contractor and contractor considers that instruction which constitutes a variation on higher side as extras and instruction is silent for that extra. It's up to contractor to carry out, means whether to carry out that work or not to carry out that work. Contractor has to decide. Instruction or inform engineer related to that instruction, we have to inform engineer and resident engineer about whether it constitutes extra in reference to instruction and should wait for response from resident engineer or engineer as it may be in writing. Now I explain further. I explained before also. What happens? Resident engineer states, issues a memo to you, you have to do this work. Instruction comes to you. But you think that this is not your scope. This is not mentioned what you should do. Then you, not necessarily you do immediately, you write to engineer, because there's always one note below that instruction. If contractor considers that this constitutes cost variation, then you have to take prior permission to do that. And if you think, yes, this is a general one, this is covered in the work scope, I have to spend more money on that, and you can write to resident engineer that this constitutes cost variation and this would probably my cost. Don't do that work before you get assurance in writing that we are considering this and we'll pay you, or we are not considering this. If that is not considered, do not go ahead with that change. And if it's considered, they will give writing, do it, and then you submit your cost, extra cost. That's what it says. Resident engineer has no power. Resident engineer has no power to sanction extras other than those which are unavoidable due to site conditions, and for which also resident engineer shall seek permission of engineer and adjustable against the prime sum provision. Prime sum provision, we'll discuss this one. It's also said that engineer and thus his resident engineer acts as an arbitrator between employer and construction contractor, and applicable insofar as contract condition permit. Otherwise, unresolved disputes shall be referred to arbitration by appointment of an arbitrator on consent of both parties to contract for Indian or national law or some other law, law arbitration or related countries where work is carried out. Disputes. It's very important part. So it's too early, but dispute is dispute. There are two parties and dispute together. I don't listen to Ari. I don't listen to engineer. I am a contractor. But I can't stop work. That's also important. I have, as contractor, no right to stop work. If engineer or engineer says no, you have to do that, then I have to do that. But I have reservation as well. I say, this is my position, I do it, this is my claim, and that guy says, no, it's not your claim, but you have to do work. Then this is dispute. This is called contract dispute, which must be resolved. Who shall resolve it? First guy to consider the consideration or to act upon is engineer in that case. Engineer has duty to resolve this issue, and engineer resolves it. But contractor doesn't accept that. To you try to resolve as contract as an engineer and issue letter, or you can say whatever decision you take, because engineer's order you have to accept. You may accept that or may not accept, that's different. And you can further write that yes, we are proceeding this work, but we have reservation for further dispute resolution, and that is arbitration. This engineer has order as arbitrator, he is like arbitrator's order, but you have reservation and you notify to engineer that we will take up such measures in future. Or during that time also you can go to arbitration. There is no stop. It's right of contractors dispute resolution mechanism. If you have that clause in your contract, I'll just explain to you because this contract clause, and it's not simple one. Every contract has got arbitration clause, that's dispute resolution clause. And that's not a part of contract actually, that's embedded in your contract but as separate contract. Disputes resolution is a part of contract because it is within contract, or it can be separate also. But that contract of dispute resolution, the arbitration mechanism, is a separate contract by effect operation of law or by operation of state. So that dispute resolution mechanism authorizes both parties actually, and particularly contractor, to make claims against owner. And if there is no sufficient basis on your records, the contractor made claim and court said, I made claim, they didn't listen, then you can adopt that. This called dispute resolution mechanism, civil laws, and arbitration proceeding. That will be affected later on, or can be done simultaneously as work progresses. It depends upon your choice, how much money is claimed in that. No one can stop you. This is what it is. No further. Resident engineer should make impartial decisions, no partition, no support, no favorism. Resident engineer should make impartial decisions and act accordingly, and shall not accept opinions of employer or contractor, but listen to them and form its own options or opinions based on suggestions. Exactly like engineer, resident engineer is appointed for special knowledge in engineering and knowledge which shall be bound to be applied with to matter out before resident engineer. And all decisions must be based on that proficiency, and consequently decision taken by engineer in absence for reference to a clause to appoint an arbitrator clause shall be binding on employer and contractor. Contractor and considered final. This is little, complication going on going from gradually so that all problems are covered in. Once again, I did this for you because this is a little complicated. Resident engineer should make impartial decisions and act accordingly and shall not accept opinions of employer or contractor. Employer and contractor are paying to that person, but no, you are not bound by instructions of employer contractor for your decision making, but listen to them and form your own opinion on suggestions. Exactly like engineer, resident engineer is appointed for special skills in engineering and knowledge which shall be bound to apply to matter out before resident engineer or him, and all decisions must be based on on that proficiency, and consequently decision taken by engineer in absence of reference to a clause or a point arbitrator clause shall be binding on employer and construction contractor. If there is a lapse, you can say what is saying again, saying all decisions must be based on proficiency, and consequently decisions taken by engineer in absence for reference to a clause to a point arbitrator clause shall be binding on employer and binding on employer and construction contractor, and consider that. Then employer hires an engineer for services of making building. Right? Very true. Employer hires an engineer for services of making building. And insofar as engineer acts honestly and with ethics of profession and apply least expected skill with normal competence, employer must accept decisions made by engineer. Understand? If employer hires an engineer for services of making building and in his building insofar as engineer acts honestly and with ethics of profession, apply least expected skill with normal competency, employer must accept decision made by engineer. And then a resident engineer has to keep in mind or in his view that no contract exists between construction contractor and engineer. But employer and construction contractor and works have to be carried out to entire satisfaction of engineer, and construction contractor has to execution of contract of construction so far engineer does not act or has not acted fraudulently, deceitfully, in collision with employer beyond warranted authority of under suspicion. Once again I read it because sometimes it's not easy to understand immediately. A resident engineer has to keep in mind or in his view that no contract exists between construction contractors and engineer, but employer and construction contractors and works have to be carried out to entire satisfaction of engineer, and construction contractor has to execution of contract of construction so far engineer does not act or has not acted fraudulently, deceitfully in collusion with employer beyond warranted authority or under suspicion. Then we'll go to the next one. A resident engineer should not misrepresent. A resident engineer should not misrepresent knowingly, without belief in truth, or carelessly, and should exercise same virtues as engineer in supervision or supervising, measuring works, extra works, preparation of post-contract drawings, estimates, variation orders, and within terms of agreement between employer and engineer. A resident engineer must note requirement of employer so that engineer be guided to conform with regulations in case employer being a statutory body, and take care not to accept favors from contractors and let member that matter slip through his hands. Matter slip through his hand. Again, a resident engineer should not misrepresent. Misrepresent, you understand? Or not, don't understand. What are not facts is called misrepresentation. Without belief in truth or carelessly, you are not sure what you are talking about. You are just framing something and expressing that, and that's carelessly. You have to avoid that. You should exercise same virtues as engineer, same virtues as engineer in supervision or supervising, measuring works, extras, works preparation or post concrete drawings, estimates, variations, orders, and within terms of agreements between employer and engineer. A resident engineer must note requirement of employer so that engineer be guided in conform with regulations in case employer being a statutory body, and take care not to accept favors from contractors and let matters resolved. Now, a resident engineer must note requirement of employer so that engineer be guided to conform with regulations in case employer being a statutory body, and take care not to accept favors from contractors and let matters slip through his hands. Failing to remind engineer for operations of penalty clause, failing to remind engineer for operation of penalty clause in case of delay or any other reason, or accepted qualifications conforming to conditions where clause shall be and is operative to that as imposition. Final certificate is issued or recommended shall count to a negligence on part of engineer for not deducting penalty or any other money from valuation part payments. Means sometimes what happens, there is delay on site. Delay on site means important points on contract are you must know clauses on contract and you must operate them. It's not simply you know clauses and leave them. Just watch work? No. Work is one end, that is technical management. But operation or administration of contract is also very important. And remember, engineer is not sitting there with you. You are there. You are resident engineer. And one is contractor, agent. Both have to understand contract. Both are responsible for that. If you miss something, you have to suffer because engineer will suffer. What it says, you read out clauses. That is what you cannot see. Oh, I read two specifications. I go. I'm going to home and you take care. And you are not about me. Now say if there's a clause of penalty, which you'll call penalty, you say work is delayed, say more than 10%. It's delayed by 15%, 20%, 50, 20, whatever it is. You're not worried about. You're not taking care. You're saying delayed, 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 delayed. Why delayed? Who is responsible? You are saying contractor is responsible. Okay, contractor is, but what you are doing? If contractor is responsible, but you are there to supervise the job. Engineer is there. You are paid. You are paid from employer. Is paying you. You have to take care of contract. You cannot leave contractor like this until contractor fault doesn't exist. Management fault is your fault is there. But you see, contractor is not having time. Contractor is not getting full resources. Contractor is not being material time. Contractor is not working according to requirement. Work is falling behind. Schedule. Schedule means your plan, your program. So you will allow it. If you allow, on what basis do you allow? Who authorized you that? Your job was to ensure that work moves according to plan, according to program. But you are sleeping, you are not doing that. This means you are not working on contract supervision, you are just working on activities. Monitoring work technically as well as commercially and contractually are required. Contractual management is work online, we say generally in our language. The project progresses online. Online means what? Online means not internet. Online means there's a line, S curve or whatever curve that says your progress should move like this. So actual progress should also move like that. Maybe this way a little, that way, that's acceptable. But overall it should move like that, on that curve, S curve. And it's not working. You're saying 15% behind, 20% behind. Why behind? That's the problem. If it's behind, what action you have taken? There is a clause in contract that you have to deliver this project in time. But you are delaying and you're accepting the supervisor or resident engineer. What you should do? Use this. This is what management is. There is a clause in there that per day this is damage, penalty you may say, though it's not penalty actually. We use penalty term in engineering way. Penalty is not penalty actually, it is liquidated damages, LD it is called. Means you are going to get a loss because of that wastage of time. So it is your duty to you can say operate that clause. You have to warn that contractor, do it, recover it, or I impose penalty on you, or liquidate. And if you do not find solution, you start imposing penalty. If you see there is no recovery on part of contractor, contractor is sleeping, he is ignoring you. Okay, your valuation is this, I deduct for 1 month or 15 days this liquidated damage. But it will be paid back to you if you recover that. I'm holding this money on behalf of LD, liquidated damage. I pay you back if you recover it. That action must be taken. You have to operate that clause according to interconnected conditions. That is job of management. You have to be manager. It's not simply standing on site and sitting, taking tea, coffee, walking here and there. My job is write and report. No, 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 no. Contract operation, contract administration is a must, because you are advocate there, you are lawyer there, you are arbitrator there. There is no advocate for me, no lawyer for me. You have to decide yourself. That is what I say. Just having technical knowledge is not sufficient. You must have active contract knowledge, practical contract knowledge, and law. Both you should have. Well, think failing to remind engineer for operation of penalty clause in case of delay or any other reason, or accepted qualifications conforming to conditions where clause shall be and is operative to that imposition, final certificate is issued, recommended shall count to a negligence on part of engineer for not deducting penalty or whatever else money from valuation payments. That's what I explained to you. That is very important. Do not import negligence on your duty. That is, since you are earning negligence, you are not working adequately, you are not experienced, you cannot be qualified in that case to take that position. And resident engineers should not accept substandard materials, workmanship, unless engineer signals clearance for that. Don't accept any substandard material if you are not authorized. Engineer has to present to employer or user or owner a complete contract in all respects and manners. Here I hold today. We'll discuss tomorrow this, but I'm just trying to advise that do not take it too easy. The contracts are that easy. That is what I am trying to stress, that make good engineer, no problem, but make better manager, better controller, because world has changed, responsibilities have changed, interactions have changed, word of coordination has changed. Projects are not physical work, projects are managerial works, integral works, intelligent works, coordinative works. And if you can do that, then you are a successful professional engineer. Professional engineer doesn't mean designs only. It doesn't mean technical knowledge only. No. It means quality, it means safety, it means specifications, it means compliance, it means some finances, it means management, it means parties control, it means coordination, it means interactions, it means everything that is covered within profession. Arbitration, communication, writing, speech, explanation, everything is covered. Do not underestimate your personality. You have to keep personality of every discipline: human relation, workers relation, management relation, site relations, contractors relations. This is what you have to develop. Otherwise, you are just a layman. I am engineer. I qualified BE. Okay, you qualified BE, so what I do? Can you get this job done? That is important. I am MTech. Okay, go and sit in design office. Who's asking you here? You want to go and sleep on site? You are doing wrong design. You don't know what design is, what material is, what site problem is. You are not understanding what's buildability of work, what's constructability of work. You don't know what problems on site, how these people face problem. You just congested steel are delivering. You are dealing with that. That's not the problem. You have to become a site engineer first to understand problem, and then start designing. You whatever come off university, sit down, I will design our structure. Just do know what type of steel is available in the market, what type of shuttering is available, and you just design and give you minor dimensions of that. I have done structural design, I'm giving you that. Everything requires pragmatism, optimization, saving time, saving money, ease of construction, ease of workability. These are requirements. So you must know. With this, I close today's talk. We'll continue later on. And with this, thank you very much. Best of luck.